Hey everybody, MBG here today to talk about the new Warhammer 7th edition of 40K, of course. There's been a lot of said, rumors and things like that over the past couple of weeks, and some of them are true, some of them weren't, obviously, because, well, a lot of stuff doesn't work the way it was rumored to be. So that's why I never read the rumors, because I'm never disappointed, right? So I spent a lot of time over the weekend going over the rules. We did a couple of live webcasts with Forge Narrative, so definitely check those out. And we've come up with a lot of stuff, and it's pretty amazing how much the rules really have changed, and hopefully for the better. Now, I'm sure one of the big hot button issues with 40K right now, 6th edition, or 7th edition rather, is the psychic phase. And a lot of people out there are just like, I'm going to roll all these dice and I'm just going to win the game because I took all these psychers and I have like 60 dice. And we'll see if that really happens. So let's take a look at that. We're going to be doing a series of these videos going over the new 7th edition changes, and we're going to focus on one section at a time because there's so much to talk about. I feel that just skimming over and just doing it that way really doesn't do it justice. So we're going to start with the psychic phase because I think, like I said, that's the big one. And let's take a look at it. First off, if you haven't picked up a psychic card deck, they might prove to be pretty handy nowadays because there's been a lot of changes. Things have moved around inside the psychic disciplines, as well as just changing in general. Like some things are just gone. Like Puppet Master, for instance, gone. We don't need it anymore, which is fine. And then some stuff has just been invented, like the demonic power. So let's take a look at some of them. So you definitely might help to have one of those decks. I think they're like $10 or something from your local retailer there, or you can get them from Games Workshop online, I'm sure. I actually have a cool set that came with the collector's edition, and they're a little bit different. I didn't really expect nothing, but hey, kudos to them for making the collector stuff just a little bit different, just to make me feel like I got my money's worth. I probably didn't, but that's okay. It is what it is. So let's talk about the psychic phase. First off, there's been a little bit of tweak to the force rule, if you haven't heard. Force now is its own like kind of separate psychic thing, and psychers with weapons that have the force rule have the force power. And what's pretty cool is that you can activate that, and any weapon that the psyker has that has force now can instant death stuff. So it's kind of like Demon Bane for Grey Knights on Super Saiyan power, because that's pretty nuts. It does not affect the shooting, like the Stormbolters and things like that. It has to have force already. So that was one of the gotchas already. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm gonna take all these paladins and I'm gonna shoot you, and it doesn't work that way. Sorry, guys. If you choose all of the powers from the same discipline, you get the Primaris power for free. Like say you have Mastery level 3 and you roll all 3 on Biomancy, then you would get the Primaris of Biomancy for free, which I think hasn't changed actually. It's decent. Gaining any powers from, like, say you go to another discipline and you roll, then you don't get the Primaris for free, but you do get to substitute. Like say you roll something you don't want, you can say I want the Primaris. Cool, yeah, whatever. A marked god or a marked chaos, something with a mark of chaos or a demon of chaos of a certain god, get their Primaris for free. It's called like Chaos Focus or something like that. So that's pretty neat, because a lot of the Chaos Demons book and the Chaos Space Marine book, the upgrade to get the actual extra mastery level is pretty high. Like 25-30 points in some instances, so I think it's a little bit of a bonus there for those players. I don't know. I mean, the demonic chart's pretty nuts in general, but it was pretty cool that they get the faction one for free, because the Primaris on those is pretty good for some of them. All right, so let's talk about the psychic phase, because it is its own phase now, and that's pretty important. It's the real deal now. No pulling punches, no doing stuff at the beginning of the movement phase, no casting shooting attacks or psychic shooting witchfires during the shooting phase. It's all happening right now during the psychic phase. So let's see how that works. Basically, psychers have to generate warp charge. So the active player, say it's me and I'm playing, rolls a d6. And then you add that d6 to the mastery level of all the psychers in your army. Which for some armies is pretty cool, because like Grey Knight, I think their vehicles give them 1. Cool. Then you got psychers and things like that. So say I have like 3 Mastery level 3 Psykers, and I roll a 4 on my D6. Then I would have 13 Warp Charge points at my disposal to try to roll and actually cast spells with. I think it's more like a Warp Charge pool. They're not actual points yet until you actually roll the result you need to convert them into Warp Charge points. Well, anyways, so then I want to cast a spell. So say I have Eldrad on the table, and I say, hey Eldrad, I want you to Mind War that dude over there with the last cannon. Okay, cool. So Eldrad's going to attempt to manifest a psychic power. But first I need some Warp Charge points, and this is where it gets a little dicey, and it starts to become like a game of bluffing and strategery, so to speak. So what happens is, I'm going to say, well, I really want this spell to go off. I don't know, maybe it's Mastery level 2, or I need 2 Warp Charge points rather to cast it. So I'm going to take, I'm going to roll 3 dice at it. So I'm going to pick up 3 dice and I'm going to roll them. And they need to be 4+. And I need, if it's Warp Charge 2, I need at least 2 results of a 4+ to get that spell off. I'm going to roll the next one just because it's a 50-50 to roll a 4+ on a D6. So I'm just going to throw 3 dice at it. Maybe I'm trying to bluff my opponent to use some of his Dispel dice, because that D6 I roll to get the 4 to add to the Mastery level of my Psykers to generate my Warp Charge pool, my opponent got 2 in the form of a Dispel pool, which he also adds his Mastery level of his Psykers, and now he has dice at the ready to try to dispel my attempts. So say I roll a 4 up, a 5, and a 3. So I have enough Warp Charge points to actually cast that spell. So it would go off. At that point, the Psyker, my opponent can attempt to dispel it. And all he has to do is get some 6-ups on dice. So he might have to throw more. He might have to throw like 5 at it to try to dispel it and at least get 2 6-ups, which on 5 dice, you're guaranteed like maybe 1 6-up. But say I'm casting at that squad and he has, I don't know, higher level Psyker or something in there to give him a bonus like Adamantite Will, then it comes down to he gets +1/+1. So now he's down to like a 4+. So now the odds went up greatly depending on what you're doing. So if you target enemy squad, he can actually try to dispel it with bonuses, or I believe Psychic Hood can act like the Psykers in the squad you target as well within 12 inches. So there's a little bit of back and forth there. But here's the kicker. If you roll double 6s, it's perils, and there's a whole different perils of the warp chart, and it's pretty brutal for a couple of the results. One of them's pretty good, some of them are average, some of them you lose a spell, but I'm not sure all these, the internet's saying they're going to cast all these spells and do all these things, and they're not going to perils, and they're not going to lose guys, but I'm telling you, some of these Warp Charge 2 and Warp Charge 3 stuff, it's going to be a little dicey to get them off, so to speak, but we'll see how it goes. So that's pretty much how the psychic power, how to cast psychic powers in a nutshell. Some interesting caveats: Witchfires. You can cast as many Witchfires as you want during the psychic phase, and they don't take away from your shooting attacks in the shooting phase, even though technically they are shooting. They don't take away. So you can be like spell slinging all sorts of Witchfires and things like that out, and then still take a normal shooting attack with the Psyker's like bolt pistol or something like that. It's super crazy. A couple of new things we'll go over here shortly in the Psychic Powers section. Just some quick things to note, as well as the changes to the Psychic disciplines themselves.